Steam curled from the rim of the cup she placed gently in front of me. Fingers lingered briefly near mine, brushing warmth across the table like a whispered invitation. Neither of us acknowledged it aloud, but something delicate bloomed between us, fragile as morning frost on balcony railings, dangerous as secrets told during snowfall. Her gaze dipped. Mine followed. She wore emerald velvet, molded perfectly along her frame, shimmering faintly beneath the low cafe light. Each motion, pouring honey, stirring gently, was choreographed, as though she rehearsed for intimacy instead of conversation. Outside, bells pealed. Maybe a church nearby. Maybe time reminding me it hadn't stopped, even though everything inside me had. She finally spoke again, voice like silk unraveling. "You haven't looked away once." I didn't deny it. "There's nothing worth turning from." She smiled, small, knowing, dangerous. We walked along Rue de Bretagne after, boots crunching over slush and cobbled stone. Her laughter drifted toward the rooftops, carried by wind between shuttered apartments and curling vines pressed against aging walls. I couldn't stop watching her hair dance beneath her beret, loose strands glowing beneath antique streetlights. She paused outside a blue-painted door. Number 42 etched on brass. "Would you like to come up? Just for another drink?" I should have declined. I didn't. Inside, her apartment felt timeless, walls papered in vintage roses, shelves spilling over with worn paperbacks and Polaroids clipped on twine. A record hummed softly in the background, some old French ballad trembling through static. She poured something dark into mismatched glasses and settled beside me on the divan. We didn't speak. Words felt unnecessary, cumbersome. Our silences weren't empty, they pulsed with implication. Then her hand slid toward mine again. And stayed. This time, I didn't just brush fingers. I laced them together, palms warm, veins aligned. The world narrowed until it was only us, and the ticking of the vintage clock, and the gentle sway of her breath beside mine. "Why me?" I asked, barely above a whisper. "Because you see me," she answered, pressing her forehead to mine. Then, her lips. Soft, tentative, then deeper. The kind of kiss that demanded surrender. And I gave it. She led me across creaking floorboards, past stacked canvases and flickering candles, into a bedroom that smelled like peonies and longing. She slipped her velvet dress from her shoulders without fanfare, without shame, and I stood there, breath stolen by the beauty of vulnerability, the holiness of desire unmet. She reached for me, pulled me close. We undressed like prayer, slow, reverent, aching. When her body met mine beneath linen sheets, time fractured. There was no before, no after. Only now, her hips against mine, her mouth exploring uncharted skin, my fingers tangled in her hair while the snowstorm outside raged unseen. We moved like flame and fuel, like shadows and moonlight, devouring distance with every thrust, every cry, every wordless gasp. She bit my shoulder, and I gasped her name like absolution. After, we lay tangled together, limbs forgotten where mine ended and hers began. She traced circles across my chest. I kissed her fingers. Neither of us slept. And neither of us said what we both knew. Nothing this beautiful comes without consequence. By morning, frost covered her windows like lace woven by ghosts. I watched her sleep, eyelashes fluttering against cheekbones, lips parted slightly as if whispering truths only dreams could hold. I hadn't moved in hours, afraid any shift might undo the fragile reality we had constructed beneath the warmth of her blankets. Eventually, her eyes opened. She smiled, slow, sleepy, genuine. "Still here." I wasn't ready to disappear. She stretched, the sheet slipping, exposing honeyed skin now marked by my touch. Bruises shaped like desire. Redness painted by longing. No words could capture the ache blooming inside me. We spent that day wrapped in each other's presence. She showed me her world, gallery brochures covered in handwritten notes, sketches of faceless lovers pinned beside mirrors, delicate perfume bottles arranged like altar offerings. Everything about her life felt intentional, curated, intimate. But one photograph caught me off guard. A man. Tall, angular. Hand placed possessively on her waist. Her smile in that frame was different, posed, practiced. "Who's this?" I asked, holding the image like it burned. She hesitated. Marco. My partner. The room shrank. My breath staggered. You didn't mention. I wasn't supposed to want this, she interrupted, voice cracking. But I do. You felt like an accident that made too much sense. I stared at the photo again. The other man's face bored into mine with invisible accusation. I should go. No, she whispered. Not yet. I didn't leave. Instead, I let my guilt drown beneath her kiss. Again. We collapsed onto the chaise beside the balcony, clothes torn in urgency. This time was Messier, driven by panic, betrayal, need. I tugged her hair. She gasped. She scraped her nails down my spine. I grunted, lost in the pressure, the heat, the knowledge that everything forbidden tastes better. Later, as dusk fell, we walked in silence down Avenue Montaigne. Her arm looped around mine, but her touch felt heavier now. Every glance she gave me held questions neither of us dared answer. We ducked into a cinema. Some old black-and-white film flickered on screen. We didn't watch it. Her hand found my thigh in the dark. I caught her mouth mid-laugh, kissed her hungrily, felt her grind softly into my side. It was madness. Thrilling. Poisoned. Perfect. Afterward, we stood on a bridge. Lights reflected in the river below like constellations spilled from the sky. She leaned into me. I haven't felt alive in years, she whispered. I turned toward her. And now? She nodded. Now I'm terrified. We returned to her apartment wordlessly. Our bodies spoke the only language we trusted. She undressed slowly, trembling beneath my fingertips. Every movement was a prayer. Every breath, a confession. We made love again, slower, more deliberate, soaked in sadness. Outside, snow returned. Inside, I memorized her like scripture. In the quiet that followed, she whispered, "He doesn't know. But he suspects." My heart pounded. What happens if he finds out? She stared at the ceiling. Then he becomes someone neither of us recognizes. I didn't sleep again that night. Not because of fear. Because I knew. We were running out of borrowed time. Streetlights flickered as dawn crept over the horizon, casting golden halos across the apartment floor. She sat across from me, knees drawn to her chest, sipping something strong enough to burn memories. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Instead, we listened to the city's quiet awakening, horns in the distance, footsteps below, someone's muffled laughter echoing through alleyways. I studied her silhouette, backlit by pale sunlight. Everything about her looked unreal, like she'd stepped out from a painting. Delicate, heartbreaking, impossible. Yet still here. Still mine, though not really. My phone buzzed. 3 messages. All from Sophie. She hadn't heard from me in 2 days. I didn't answer. Instead, I slipped the device back into my pocket and reached for the woman who had become both sanctuary and sin. She turned toward me, unsure if we still existed inside whatever spell last night conjured. "We can't keep this up," she said quietly, the final word barely audible. I brushed a curl from her temple. "You're right." But I kissed her anyway. And she didn't stop me. We collapsed into each other again, the desperation building. This time wasn't gentle, it was frantic, fueled by dread, knowing everything could fall apart if even one wrong person opened the wrong door, answered the wrong call, felt the wrong suspicion. I gripped her thighs, thrust harder. She arched beneath me, nails clawing at my chest. I groaned. She screamed. Our chaos filled the apartment like incense, sweet, smoky, suffocating. Afterward, I lay beside her, sweating, panting, wondering how something that should have ruined me felt like salvation. She rolled over, tracing my jaw. "Do you regret it?" "No," I said, faster than I should have. "But her." I paused. That pause said everything. "I think I started slipping long before I met you," I admitted, shame crawling up my spine like ice. She nodded, pressing her mouth to my collarbone. "Then maybe we're both already lost." That evening, she had a gallery show. I went with her, knowing full well the risks. Marco would be there. He sponsored half her exhibitions, held power over her career, probably over her heart too, even if she wouldn't admit it. I wore black. Blended in. tried to keep my distance. But when she entered the room, shimmering in silver silk, lips painted the same color as the wine she never drank, I forgot everything else. Everyone else. Then he walked in. Tall. Immaculate. Cold eyes that missed nothing. He saw me. He saw her. He saw something between us. I could tell. But he said nothing. Instead, he kissed her cheek in front of the crowd, held her hand longer than necessary. I watched her body stiffen at his touch. "She's dazzling tonight," someone whispered near me. I turned. A stranger, sipping champagne. "She always draws fire," he added, laughing like it was a game. Fire? Yes. And I was already burning. She avoided me the entire evening. Didn't look. Didn't smile. Acted like a stranger. I understood why. Didn't blame her. Didn't stop watching. When I left, the air outside felt colder than before. Snow had returned, thicker now, meaner, howling down narrow streets like wolves chasing prey. She found me hours later. My hotel. No words. Just her. She shoved me against the door, yanked open my coat, climbed on top of me like she'd been starving since the moment we separated. I wrapped her legs around my waist, carrying her to the bed. She ripped buttons. I tore lace. We didn't make love this time. We survived each other. When we were done, she cried. Not loud. Just a tear sliding along her temple. "I think he knows," she said. "I don't care. You should." But I didn't. Because nothing else had ever felt this real. I woke before sunlight pierced the window, her hand curled loosely over my chest like an afterthought. Breath shallow, she slept as though peace were possible. My heart drummed rhythmically beneath her touch, conflicted between joy and guilt, freedom and consequence. Paris outside lay still, blanketed again in snow, rooftops softened, avenues glazed in silver-white serenity. But inside me, a storm. I'd crossed too many lines, lost too much ground, betrayed more than a vow. And yet, I didn't wish I'd chosen differently. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Morning," she whispered. "Hey," I said, brushing her knuckles with my lips. "I dreamed we were on a train, heading somewhere warm." "Maybe we should be," I replied. She smiled, but her eyes didn't follow. "Marco's leaving town today. Milan conference. 4 days." My stomach twisted. "And I want to disappear with you," she said, voice trembling like fragile glass. We did. That same evening, 2 packed bags. A car. She wore sunglasses under a wool hat pulled low. I wore hope like armor. We drove away, past Montmartre, past boulevards flooded in amber streetlight, past right and wrong. Toward nowhere specific. Toward peace, maybe. Or just silence. We stayed in a quiet village south of Lyon, stone cottage, ivy-covered, surrounded by nothing but forest and sky. A fireplace crackled constantly. We cooked together. Danced to old records. Made love slowly, like apology after apology, washing away the weight of what we'd done. Time slowed there. No one asked questions. No one looked twice. Every night we curled together beneath thick quilts, limbs tangled, hearts synchronized. She painted again, sunsets, rivers, naked bodies made of color and shadow. I wrote. Pages filled with stories I didn't know I had in me until she unlocked them. I forgot about Sophie. Not out of cruelty, but because that life, that version of me, no longer existed. On the 3rd morning, I found her standing barefoot outside, snowflakes melting against her cheeks. "I never thought happiness would feel like this," she whispered. "It feels like breathing after drowning." She turned to me. "Do you ever think we were meant to fall?" I thought about that. "I think we were meant to crash beautifully." She nodded. "And now, we get to heal." Her lips met mine, slow and unhurried. That kiss said everything words couldn't. We didn't return to Paris. She wrote Marco a letter. It wasn't cruel, nor apologetic. Just truth wrapped in kindness. She didn't ask for understanding. Only release. I left Sophie a voicemail from the train station where we'd kissed that first snowy night. "I'm sorry," I said. "But I found something I didn't know I was missing." And I can't pretend anymore. No rage. No screaming. Just finality. 2 broken worlds left behind. 1 imperfect beginning ahead. Years later, we still walk beside each other, fingers intertwined, laughter filling rooms once full of ghosts. We visit Paris sometimes, quietly. No headlines. Just memories. She hangs new paintings where older ones used to haunt. I read her my chapters before bed, her head resting on my chest again like it did that first night. It's not perfect, but it's real. And sometimes, in love, that's everything.